Okay, we're live.
All right, cool. Welcome everybody. Happy Friday to those who celebrate Friday. Um, I don't know. There are somebody out there's like doesn't believe in Friday. Then happy Thursday part 2 to you, or pre-Saturday. It's the Mac meeting here. We're talking about the things that are happening this week in marketing news. It's the cast of characters traditionally that are here, but I invited a privacy technology attorney that I just am the biggest fan of, Heidi Sass. Welcome to the Mac. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself and just give us, a elevator pitch for what you're up to?
I'm Heidi Sass. I'm a data privacy and technology attorney. These are my personal opinions, not legal advice. We'll start with that.
She does that when she goes to Panera too. Yeah, she's like, this is just an order.
I hate data brokers.
And her feelings, which will come out after we touch on some of these news items of the day. So Jay, flashback to that deck, and then we'll click through this. The news. I didn't have any plan. I just pieced this together. So it's a bit of a quilt, but there is a theme that I think will be landed by our conversation with Heidi. But I just wanted everybody to know the Google searches for what are tariffs are still up much higher than they need to be. I think a lot of people are currently, I've gone through big life events, and once they happen, you're like, wait, what is this? If it could be, people would search what is drowning, and then I don't, it's the anti-swimming, I think. Check into the fear and greed index. Well, it's at 8. But last week it was at 3. So I'm seeing we're getting to just regular fear, maybe. So what does this have to do with anything? Today, I'm just going to go through stuff I found. And one of these were the projected ad spend cuts due to the tariffs. And, maybe they're going through, maybe they don't. They did sort of, but they didn't. I mean, it's a great shuck and jive kind of thing going on. You're not sure what's happening, but this was interesting from eMarketer because it's saying people are projected to cut if tariffs hit or how they will. And it was interesting to note that people are thinking about this. So as we're excited about whatever we're not, in our marketing worlds, we're just talking about optimizing email chains and stuff like that. We might not be thinking about this, but the market's thinking about it. But it was interesting to note that the channels being cut were social media being up at the top. So people were saying, if I had to cut ad spend on one channel, it's interesting to note that social media was high. Digital audio down there on 14%. So I thought that was interesting, but I just wanted to bring that home. You're saying, why are you talking about tariffs? Because people are talking about cutting ad spend. Okay, why am I talking
about non-traditional media? Does that include event sponsorship?
Oh, I mean, isn't there other traditional media? You're like, oh God. I mean, if you care about a chart and wondering what's going on inside of it, you have a lot of connection and questions for here. But it's a piece of information. I have it drilled into it, Michael, but good things. And I suggest you go and do that. Meta, here they go. So another platform that might lose some ad spend coming up. The FTC in an antitrust trial that will kick off. So, I mean, this is sort of like, this is what will happen if they have to break up Instagram and what. And, if you follow Facebook, these people are all up in the courtrooms. The other day, there's a $1 billion lawsuit against Meta in Kenya, talking about how their role in amplifying, fueling the civil war in Ethiopia. Here's Senator Blumenthal talking about, in the Senate, connecting how Facebook was kind of giving information and surveillance tools to the CCP. If you're following the llama thing, Meta is in a lawsuit about fair use and stealing things. And then I just wanted to put this freaking mishmash of things here. This AI, this influencer over here on the left, she was hit up by a whole bunch of her fans saying, what are you doing on this podcast talking like this? It was It was an avatar. It was a deep fake of her talking about a line of skincare, sending her influence clicks to another brand. I thought that was like really so like this sort of ad fraud is now happening with influencers, and I thought that was really interesting. LiveRamp, which we're going to get to, which is a data marketplace, they just got caught with their hands, in all of this data that was giving away the location of U.S. military, people abroad. So, espionage. It's like advertising is helping make that worse. This fintech founder charged with fraud after AI shopping app found to be powered by humans in the Philippines. That was yesterday.
What?
So this person raised all this money for years saying that they could do this stuff, and in the end it ended up being humans.
Didn't Amazon get caught with that for the
mechanical
store?
mechanical Turk. I mean, there's just all these other things. And then TikTok moderator files lawsuit for psychological damage because their job is just going through things, seeing if it is manslaughter or if it's suicide or if it's whatever. But people are doing something about this. I want everybody to notice Ariel Garcia and the people that check my ads. They're up in Congress's ass trying to bring awareness to this issue, testifying in front of these bodies. Bringing this stuff awareness. The least we could do is respect their work and promote it, because it is not as well trafficked as the latest GPT secrets or anything like this. Eric Feinberg is another one who we should, share. Is Senator Hawley, you think whatever you want about him, but he's calling these people out on things. So we are fighting back. We are doing things. And I wanted to end with this because there was a big to-do, 3 lawsuits. Heidi reached out to me yesterday about this, and this is inspired. I was like, well, just come on and talk about this with us. The trade desk is violating consumer privacy laws. So I just wanted to let into it. There's terrific cuts in ad spending projected. Meta is in deep shit again. AI deepfakes hit the influencers. LiveRamp narcs on the U.S. military. Content moderators are suing. Ad tech goes to Washington. How should we proceed? What do you think? Talk amongst yourselves, kids.
What's the trading desk?
Agency, right?
Right. Heidi, do you want to give us the official def of Trade Desk? Because I bet they just think they're a technology company.
So the Trade Desk is pitching themselves as the alternative to Google. And they have their fingers in just about everything. And so they wanted to build a cookieless ID. And so they did, the TUID. And I've said for a long time, I don't care what you call it. If it's a persistent identifier, you're still tracking people, and the same laws are going to apply to you. I think I talked about that with Jake when he interviewed me back in December. And I said, Trade Desk, I'm looking at you. So, right? Yeah, they got published on Pacer for it. So the 2 lawsuits that just came out like 2 weeks ago, they look very similar in terms of their causes of action, but they don't look coordinated. So this was just a coincidence that they came at the same time. The 3rd lawsuit is a shareholder lawsuit that is saying that Trade Desk didn't deliver on all of the promises they were making about their capabilities and the returns that the shareholders would see. So that trial is a class action of shareholders. That's different. The data harvesting cases have the usual causes of action that you would expect, and they're both filed in California. The CIPA, which is the California Invasion of Privacy Act, just about all states have torts, and invasion of privacy is a regular tort, like intrusion upon seclusion and invasion of privacy. Those are common torts, but California went a step further and codified it in the California Invasion of Privacy Act. So that's when you hear wiretapping. Hello? So they're listening to me, right? So, the wiretapping, but also, trap and trace, pen registers, those sorts of technologies. They're using older laws to capture the newer technologies, but it's based on the behavior. So, like I said, I don't care what you call it. If your behavior is the same and you're getting the same sort of information, that's a problem. Their biggest issue here is that nobody knows who Trade Desk is.
Right. Hence the
Certainly,
question.
yeah, they certainly did not get consent from people to do this. So many sites that you go to have a pixel on it, the Trade Desk pixel. And it's more powerful and invasive than cookies because they don't reset. It's a persistent identifier. It's like device fingerprinting, more or less. It captures all of that information and then sends it right back to Trade Desk. And then they can use that to do lookalike audiences for targeted advertising. So that's where they're getting into trouble because the more these cases come up, the smarter the lawyers are getting about how to bring these cases forward because they're getting really into the weeds about the real-time bidding process and what data is collected and what the impacts are on consumers that have no idea this is going on. Now, one of the cases here I think is going to be more interesting than the other because it includes sites like Noom and Weight Watchers. And both of those sell drugs and that's health information. So
Weight Watchers sells drugs. I thought it was natural.
That's why Oprah left. Because they wanted to sell drugs too, and Oprah's
wait, I remember that. Oprah tried Ozempic. I'm sorry, excuse me.
I'm not selling drugs, and so she took off. But yeah, they do. GLP-1s have taken over the world. Thank you to the Gila monster, and too bad we don't have government research to find new things like that, right? Yeah, thanks, Elon. But anyway, this case I think is going to be a little bit different, and it may even be replicated in other states, like Washington State has the My Health, My Data Act. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a copycat law firm that says, wait a minute, I see what you're doing there, and I see how you did that, because currently there's only one of those cases, and it's against Amazon. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is opening the door for a lot of other cases for Trade Desk.
So can I help me understand? Why was it particularly relevant that Noom and Weight Watchers was doing this? What was special about them? Why were they called out?
Sensitive data. The health data is sensitive data, so it gets an extra level of protection. You get an
Sure.
extra.
So if someone identifies that they are on a diet or doing something like that, that's different than me saying I buy Coca-Cola.
Well, if you go to the website and you're searching diet drugs and there's a pixel on the website that's capturing that information, that's actually tokenized and sent back to the Trade Desk. So the Trade Desk knows you went to Weight Watchers and you were interested in doing some of these weight loss drugs, and then they put you in a lookalike category or a segment so that they could do targeted advertising to you. And now the next time you go online, no matter what device you're using, anywhere on the internet, they're going to be coming at you trying to sell you the same sorts of things.
And the Trade Desk sold that to Weight Watchers or whatever it may be. And Weight Watchers didn't know what was happening when the pixel was fired.
One reminder here on Enterprise Counsel, okay? Because they're very nice people, and they're under a lot of stress because they have billable hour requirements and whatnot. But they're going to give you the advice so that you can keep doing what you're doing now, because there's a lot of gray area. But they make the most money in defending you when you get caught. So let's think about who's giving you the advice and who's incentivized to just deal with things, because sometimes a company's risk mitigation strategy is fuck it. We'll let the lawyers clean it up if we get in trouble. And it's, a couple $100 million in a fine to the FTC, but you're making billions of dollars a year. So it kind of makes sense.
Was Weight Watchers in control of putting this Trade Desk thing on their site, thinking that they were getting something else, or how did the pixel get on Noom and Weight Watchers?
I'm sure Trade Desk signed up all of their partners and said, why don't you put this pixel so we can
get it? So it's like advertising.
So that we can do your advertising. They didn't say, but also you might get a whole lot of trouble here, and we should get consent to do this because we're a data broker, because they didn't think that they were.
Well, and then can you just imagine Weight Watchers being like, no, we don't want to reach people who we could sell stuff to. Naaman had a question. Go for it.
Yeah. So Heidi, just super interesting. And I just had a question on, isn't this, so let's take the health data part out of it because that's its own, right? Like you're dealing with HIPAA and all that stuff. So isn't this just where the marketing or advertising industry is going? Because I feel like ever since Apple did its whole, deprecation of cookies, and then all the search engines or browsers started saying you can start blocking cookies and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's been trying to find a solution to have better track and so you can serve advertising. And the one that I've heard the most about is like what they call server side tracking, which is you're given an identifier, and then depending on whatever device you come from, it doesn't matter. They're able to reconcile you down and keep right in track of what you're doing on their property. So a lot of larger corporations or companies will do this across all their different domains. This is the first I've heard of an advertising, right, like a trade desk going about it. But isn't this just the evolution, right, like of it, or isn't? Can we ever get away from this, I guess is the question, right? Won't it just continue to evolve, and that you're going to make laws, or you're going to, try to break technologies, and they'll just find another way?
Yeah, it's cat and mouse. It's going to keep going. It's a short answer. Kim brings up a good point here. The IAB Tech Lab, and so they're trying to ethics wash this by saying that we've got this, body over here that is a self-regulatory body, and everybody is volunteered to follow these rules, and here's what we've come up with, and so we think that this is going to be okay. I would not be surprised to see them come out swinging in defense of what Trade Desk is doing to justify what the IAB Tech Lab is doing, because they don't think there's anything wrong with this. But if you get down to the fundamental behavior of what this enables people to do with the amount of data that they're collecting without any consent or even knowledge of the consumer, that's the fundamental unfairness that the courts are concerned about. So technology is going to keep going. When you think about the law, the lack of the law is structural. We allow for innovation, but once we start to see the harms, then we have to take steps to mitigate it, which is what we've been trying to do, to say, don't use persistent identifiers and make sure you get consent, those sorts of things. If that's not working, then we have to regulate it. And so that's why you see competition. The ATT for Apple has actually been ruled in Europe to be anti-competitive because Apple's still got all that data. They don't let it, they're not sharing it with anybody else, but they'll sell you some spots to do some ads, right? So that's been ruled anti-competitive.
I thought Apple was all about privacy.
No, it's
He's being sarcastic. We have a sarcastic filter that we're working on, Jay.
Marketing.
Kim, give us some of that flavor from your experience in this space.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. One is that, interestingly, as I threw into the chat, Trade Desk developed Unified ID 2.0, but it doesn't own it. It's open source, and it's kind of handed it over to the industry. And the other point I wanted to make is that although Unified ID has been successful and popular, it has countless competitors. LiveRamp, for example, has a persistent identifier. So are all these agencies and vendors going to be in the crosshairs?
Trade Desk shares their data with LiveRamp as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interoperable.
Yeah, it's in the complaint. Yeah.
So and then so that LiveRamp thing, I mean, it isn't just necessarily, well, so like I think it's such a multi-hydra-headed problem. I don't even know how to really get upset about it. It almost like I'm just like numb, because I'm like, well, what's the problem here? Well, narking on the military is bad. The quality of this data is bad. How they get it is bad. The fact that people don't know that they're giving it up is bad. They don't know that they're actually getting targeted. Well, they kind of do, and then our persistent use of this stuff, believing these fictions, and then sort of participating in it. And then Heidi's having conversations that are completely removed from the reality of marketers every day on the conference floor saying, I can get you this audience. I can send you that email. I can get you this ad at the right person at the right time. And we can like laser precision target this granola to, and people are like, oh, it's a fact. It's here. The future's here. And it's so odd. So that's like 7 different issues. I mean, like, and then Moni, like, you have that sort of like approach to like the marketer on the ground. What is their thought about all this stuff? Like, Moni, what do you think? Like,
how do I get my leads? How do I get my leads, man? I need that sweet stuff.
That's it. Oh my gosh. If I can get those targets, that's what is that a big force that's driving? What's the biggest source of driving
I
this?
don't. It's like you just said, Jay. I like all the thing. It's so convoluted, right? Like from the for the average everyday marketer, it's like, man, I'm just trying to get these leads so I can get such and such off my ass so I can go home and get a paycheck. Like,
God bless
I don't-
these people.
I'm the beat in the weeds right here. So it's like,
So
for how do
cynical.
we level set this conversation, right? Like, what is there to do? What's the action here?
So I think that it's going to get worse before it gets better. We have an alignment issues between machine learning and human values, and it's going to take a big disruption to basically just blow it apart and keep what's good. Because if you look at the ad tech ecosystem, I've spent so many years reading research reports, getting all the way down into where the data flows. So I know that the advertising done by the marketing people is not ending up where they think it does. And that's frustrating for you. But there are also other things that are dangerous within the ecosystem. You know, we have our nation's adversaries. We've got North Korean people that are putting in fake resumes to get jobs at tech companies so they can steal IP. You know, we've got sextortion. We've got, you know, social media is gaslighting kids into self-harm. You know, like all of the targeting and the information that they're using is out of control, and they don't have liability because of Section 230 liability in the social platform space. So I think it's going to take a combination of legislation, which I am hopeful that something is going to be done, whether it be in the name of competition or privacy. I don't care, because you still have to deal with the same foundational issues of what data is collected and how it is used, the purpose limitations. And the second thing I think is it's going to take litigation. It's ugly, but that is where it is going to create a deterrent effect, because the cost of forgiveness will be so high, it will change corporate behavior, and they will start to clean up those ad tech systems, to get the fraud and the bots out of the system, to get the misinformation handled, just to make it cleaner so that people doing honest marketing work, you can get your ads to the people who need to see them. I just don't think that you have the space to do that right now, because there are so many other bad actors creating the noise in the space that it just makes everything harder for you. So I think we need just a bomb to go off in the whole system, and then for people to rebuild based on what we know and what we trust and what's good, and then go from there. But it's a seismic shift that's coming.
I have a thought, a question. You know, I was on a call with Michael, and we're thinking about bringing a product to market. It's a B2B product. We don't need to talk about what the product is. It will make a big bang when it comes out. But we were sort of going through approaches of how we would get people's attention in this era of marketing. And the truth is that even if you had all that Ozempic data, and even if you had all the whatever data that you're going to get, is it me, or are consumers less likely to go for these things, even if it was perfectly on target? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we're so bombarded and we're so used to the fact that, oh my God, Ozempic's following me around the internet. Are we going to get pissed before we, like, you know, if the ad creative is so ineffective, even if it's targeted, which is happening a lot now, are we creating a crisis of
Trust.
Confidence.
Well,
It's trust.
let's have a show of hands. How many people on this call can remember like an actual example of when an ad followed them and they said, okay, yeah, I'm buying?
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
It might be subliminal.
Maybe, I don't know.
Marcia, I was stuck in the marketing funnel the other day, and I was like, oh God. I was going to complain about it too. I just get hounded by these emails, and I was just like, oh no, it's not going to happen. Like, quit trying to make it happen. And then I opened one, and I was like, this jacket is very cool. and I bought it. It's a Studio Ghibli jacket, and I have gotten massive compliments on this thing because it's fresh. but I didn't intend to buy it. And I
Well,
was
maybe that's a problem too.
well, and then I was like, are we creating unintentional consumers? And then I was like, bro, you just got marketed to. The emails came in, you signed up for it, you bought it, there was a discount, it's all good. But then I was like, but is it? I don't think I intended to do that. I didn't know I meant to. And then you're like, no, you don't remember. And they're like, but maybe they hope you don't remember. And then,
Would you have bought it if there was no discount? I mean, we have our whole playbook of all these tricks.
would I have bought it if it didn't have the bright colors that I liked? Would I have bought it if it didn't have a?
You guys know my internal struggle doing ethical things and giving people what they want. And at what point do we accept the America that we are in? We are in a consumer society. We are
Right now,
bloated. We are not the brightest bunch. Like, we're not at an elevated state as human society in America here. So there's a reason why some of these things work, as it were.
But a quick question: do you like the jacket, Jake? Are you happy with the purchase?
Yes, and it's fantastic, but I didn't intend to buy it, and so I was conflicted, and I was like, "What are you complaining about?" And I was like, "Okay, maybe this isn't a good example, but I was hounded by something, Michael, and I bought it."
They were persistent, right? Like I don't know. Like Moni says, this is we're a capitalist consumer society. Sometimes that's the worst thing to happen. Let's just say that, right? Like going down a rabbit hole of mistruths and half truths and things like that is much worse than Jake buying a jacket, I guess.
But to that point, Nathan, are we as ethical as a society as we like to pretend to be? I think that's where I'm getting at. How ethical?
I think enough people are not that it's become a problem. I think there's enough people that are not. Like,
well, talk.
Have you seen our president?
not my president.
Right. Well, and talk, Heidi. I mean, you. Is this a right summation of the general populace? Like, I mean, because you have a strong take on America and where we're coming from, but you still get up in the morning and fight and find out reasons to kind of go into these endless battles. Why do you do it?
I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Well, I believe in our society, all the good and the bad, but I also accept that we're lazy as shit. And technology has catered to that, to make everything as easy as possible, no friction. But when you're talking about getting tracked down by an email to buy a jacket, that's not as bad as if, for say, you were predisposed to gambling. And those folks are really easy to identify. And so if one of these data brokers were hounding you all over the web, nudging you to get back into their sports betting app, pretty soon the kid's college account is gone and no one else knows about it. And you've got serious problems here. So I'm thinking, the next wave that we're going to see in litigation, aside from, the invasion of privacy and this and that, I think the next thing we're going to start to see is product safety. So theories of liability on product safety. You did not take reasonable care to design your product to avoid foreseeable harm. At this point, we can't deny the harms that we see. So if you're designing these products, do a better job of making sure you're not nudging people as much as you are in certain areas.
Externalities, right? That's what the Center for Humane Technology calls externalities.
Well, and here can I maybe just take a pause and pull over the bus, because I think we're hitting on the idea of the reason why Marketing Accountability Council is like, at one point we're talking about these really bad, like harmful things. And then at the same time, these places are okay. You can send an email and get a jacket. You know what I mean? But I feel I have a hard time riding those two rails at the same time, because that this one is allowing this, but this isn't necessarily related to this. So when I bring up the problems over here, I talk about the harms of AI companionship endlessly on LinkedIn, and they're not as well trafficked as my other posts, where it's like, believe in yourself, Orville Redenbacher, and everyone's like, oh my God, popcorn wisdom. But you know, when I'm talking about the dangers facing teens, no one wants to talk about that. It could be an algorithmic thing. If I'm talking about kids in danger, the algorithm's like, bro, I'm not, just stop. But
It doesn't affect me, or so they think. And until it affects them, then they're going to be concerned.
I
that's
disagree.
like health insurance in this country too.
disagree.
Y'all don't know it's a problem until your loved one is facing a need, and then you didn't know you could talk the surgeon down. I didn't know I could do that. Someone was like, you can actually talk your hospital bill down. But anyway, I think there's this really bad thing. So when I bring up the danger, just like what I did with this intro to the news, those are horrible stories. How does that, these people just trying to sell, the Joe and Jane marketers out here, I just sell.
Those are my clients. Those are the small businesses that I work with. And so when I work with them, the first thing I do is I go through their tech stack. And usually it's the first time they've ever seen it. So, you know, I pull up a tool and I say, here's what's in your tech stack. Why do you have 3 widgets doing analytics? Do you even check them? Is it useful information for you? Are you making decisions based on the insights that you gain from these tools? If not, get rid of them. And if you're getting rid of them, I have other tools that are more privacy respecting and have better results. You can replace them with those tools.
Are you a MarTech Marie Kondo?
Pretty much, because I'm looking at your tech stack and your data flows to find out the things you don't know, because I'm a lawyer and it's my job to advise on risk. But the first thing you need to do is to be able to properly identify them. So if you are not looking to find where the risks are, you're just going to paper over it with your checklist and your privacy impact assessment and say everything is good and then move on down the line. So that's just not what I do when I work with clients, because a lot of the work that I do, it also saves them money. Because data minimization means collect less data. Well, let's find out what data you need. What are you using it for? If you collect less data and use fewer tools, you will save money on storage, on cybersecurity. Yeah, I mean, these are, yes, I've gotten calls from CMOs that are angry because I'm monkeying around with their data flows, but I've also gotten calls from CFOs that were thanking me because I reduced their marketing budget considerably, and they still got positive results.
And guess what phone calls get often picked up more is the calls from the CFO. The CMO's calling, you're like, oh, it's probably some wacky idea.
Yeah.
So I look at the scales in back of you. I'm a Libra. And so the question, what we need to think about is, do the so-called advantages of whatever this widget is that the small business installed from the WordPress, does that outweigh, as Moni would say, the bad things that are happening? What are they promising the people? What do they think they're going to get from putting that tool on their website?
A lot of cases, they don't know what's on their website because they had somebody set up their website for them. And then somebody was like, oh, you need something for this, and you need Google Ads, and you need, all of this. And so it's just all crammed up in there. And then, like I said, when I show them their tech stack, they don't know the names. They don't know what Hotjar does. They have, right? They don't know what these companies do. They don't know that they're leaking data from SDKs. They don't know what an SDK is. They're trying to sell like wooden toys to people, that like to make kits of wooden toys with their kids or something. They're selling sneakers or whatever it is that they're doing because they're just trying to focus on running their business or building a tool. So, and some of the work that I do is with tool makers. So when you're building a tool and you bring in somebody like me, let's design this tool better from the beginning so that you don't have to come back and retrofit things when you find out new information on like privacy or consumer rights. You can build it better from the beginning, and you build for where you're going, not where you are. So those are kind of some of the things that I do to try to help businesses, but I'm only one person.
Well, you now have the Mac behind you.
Yeah, and we'll support in that stuff, but I think maybe just getting some definitions around data minimization, because the exact opposite advice is coming at us like a lightning wave of trash cans. You're just like, man, you got to get that data. You got to get it unstructured.
I just thought of a perfect Mac story that Heidi could write for it. Less is more.
Less is more.
I was just telling Jake about that.
But my friends, it's not that I'm saying that's great and whatever. And most alcoholics at the moment of clarity, when they become sober, will be like, I have a problem. But they need to like have that Vegas trip.
Yeah.
And it's sad because most people aren't willing to go to that level of self-reflection. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna come for you. But I think the FOMO of missing out on data, there's no way that I could tell somebody right now, you know what we actually need is less data. You sound like the Quaker oatmeal man. Get out of here.
Not only that,
Interesting.
it's the crack cocaine of marketing, but also they don't know how to do marketing without it, right?
Yeah.
We have a bunch
Yeah.
of talentless hacks out here who are
Ouch!
clueless
Ouch!
what to do if they don't have a bunch of data.
I want
Moni.
Moni, before you say something like that, you have to get us to sign a waiver because my kidneys hurt when you say those things.
Okay.
Interesting.
the-
There are analysts at Gartner for the last couple of years who've been taking the line that you do not need a 360-degree view of your customer. You do not need to know absolutely everything about them to be successful. And it was really surprising to hear that message being delivered because, as you were just saying, people so much assume that the opposite is right, that the more data you have about customers, the better off you are. But there is a line of thought out there which says that's just not true.
And it's from Gartner.
Gartner, I was about to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Of all the people.
I think it's more important moving forward as everybody starts to use AI. I read a disturbing paper today on agentic AI in the real-time bidding process. Did you see that paper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was scary. But if you think about AI tools, they're only as good as the data they were trained on. So if you collect less data and you have higher quality data and you have enough amassed to do training, you're going to end up with a better AI tool, which gives better results. And if you don't, then you're going to have a garbage AI tool because you trained it on garbage data. So that 365 view of the consumer that you thought you had, like maybe 80% of it's wrong. You don't even know, right? Because the consumer is not filling out a checklist all day long to tell you all the things about them. That would be ridiculous, right? So, yeah, and sometimes you click on things just because you might be curious. It doesn't mean that you have a deep-seated interest in it. You want people to market to you based on that, like moving my segment from this audience to that audience. It was just a moment of curiosity. So I think less data gives you better quality results, but it just saves you money in the long run in terms of mitigating risk and lowering the expenses. Like an Azure instance, that's not cheap.
No.
So yeah, exactly. That's another thing small businesses don't recognize is the expense of keeping hold of this data. Like data retention policies are important. Collect the data, use it for what you need to, and then get rid of it.
That's another big one too, is retention, right? I've had conversations of being like, we've had this data for 12 months. What is it going to tell you that this person, clicked on something on your website 12 months ago, right? Like it's okay to delete it and move on because 12 months ago is a long time in the buying cycle. If they're interested, they're going to come back or you drive them back again, right? Like retention's a big part of this too.
And then I'll just say there's a data scientist argument to be made for marketing mix modeling, which needs a minimum of 2 years of data to really understand and put together things. And so again, you can like that or you can use that thing, but also, oh my God, you're going to need more data. I'm sorry, you just don't have enough data. Remember, everyone was like, oh, we're running out of data. And then, oh, do you have the data? And they're like, well, wait, where'd the data come from? They're like, it was yours. And you're like, oh. And then you're running out of data and they're like, we'll synth it up. We'll do something else. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And then data centers, are you going to pay for this? How are they going to power this? Heidi, do you know anything about the powering of all of this, the data collection stuff? I mean, like, is LiveRamp, is Trade Desk, are they connected to data centers, I would assume?
Microsoft is pulling back on building new data centers, but I think it's because they've gotten the government. It's a current government for billionaires right now. You can see with the market manipulation that he did with like tanking the markets and then telling everybody to buy and then pulling back the tariffs. Like that reeks of market manipulation and like the old school kind of way. But I think Microsoft is doing this because they're deep into our government. And I think they've gotten the government to say, we're going to use federal land to build new data centers. And so taxpayers are going to start to support the cost of this. And Sam Altman is trying to say that we have a national security interest in making sure that OpenAI succeeds, because if not, the Chinese may overtake.
Well, we're all going to be run by AI anyway, so what difference does it make?
Oh, there's the nihilist.
Right. Yeah. So data centers use a ton of energy. They don't care about anybody else living in the communities around them. They use a ton of water. And so they are developing better ways to process data that uses less of our natural resources, but we're not there yet. And like you said, everybody's zeitgeist at the time is hoarding data. And so that takes even more space and even more data centers. So yeah, we might need more data centers, but do you want one in your backyard?
They're
Well,
riddled in Northern Virginia. Amazon has taken over. They're everywhere. It's crazy.
really?
And they're
Explain.
massive. They're massive. It's just like how how is there
Just
one on every corner? It's crazy.
4 people
Oh.
work there. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, so I'm just kind of.
What do you have that's positive for us today, Jake? Because
Yeah.
we went down like the road of
This is
turmoil.
my fault.
Yeah.
I'm finding this fantastically insightful and inspiring because I don't think most people are having this level of a conversation. And I think just the fact that we're existing and connecting these dots is important because most people are just like, why are you being such a wimp about this?
I
They're
would
just like,
agree. I would agree. People see my shirt and they're like, "Oh, she's just a crazy woman. We shouldn't talk to her." Yeah, I know things you should know, and so let's not take an adversarial approach here. It needs to be more collaborative, which
Right.
is why I try to talk to people and work with people, in all kinds of different areas: lawmakers, researchers, data scientists, journalists, whoever is trying to bring about positive change. Because I see where we can be in the future. It's just going to get really messy in the short run to get there. So I didn't build a tool or write a book. I helped to build a social construct around I hate data brokers. And now people know why. Because it doesn't have to be this way. There's something better out there for us. We just have to be outraged enough to demand it.
I love it.
There's a
And
lot
so
of
that's-
quotables today.
But that's what I'm saying. I think people like Heidi who bring this level of passion and awareness and expansion. You notice how she really only needs to talk about her one lane. Like most lawyers only really know the law, and she's down at the log level with the marketers in the shit, like working things out, thinking about your tools. And it's like, inspiring multivariate Swiss Army type characters. We need to be, exposed to them. And also, I think if it is simple, how can we start simply to get towards this? You were saying data decrease or something, but again, we're fighting against this zeitgeist, in this moment. I'm looking to you for a little bit of that optimism because,
Look at his name and he raised his
steps.
hand.
Oh, I was actually, a question for Heidi too is just like, who is your typical client, right? Who are the people that are interested in this and why? Like you said that they're more interested in from an operational point of view and a cost point of view, but is it just purely because they've seen their marketing budgets go up? Like, why are they coming to you and looking for help?
Generally, it's my colleagues in the field, other privacy professionals and people that work in ancillary areas. They say, "Oh, we've got this or that business. You should talk to Heidi." So they refer them to me, and then I start talking to them, and they think they're going to get a legal consult, which is, here are the contracts you need, here's what you need to do. But I actually spend a lot of time listening to what they do with their business and how they do it. I get into their tech stack. I teach them the things that they need to know so that they can do better negotiations with vendors and third parties so that they can have more of an interest in this. There's no reason to fear it. Fear comes from not knowing. So I spend a lot of time trying to educate them and get them up to speed on what's going on. The clients I don't work with are the ones who say, "What is the magic language I need to put in my document so I can keep doing what I'm doing and people will leave me alone?" I say, goodbye, and you should go talk to someone else. Those are the clients I don't work with. So, so that's, I think, the best thing to do is to keep having these conversations with people on different sides of the same industry, because you guys need to do marketing for my small businesses. And I can't blow up these tools by myself. It takes having good tools available to have my clients be able to do marketing. So I think it's a credibility and social proof. It gets back to who do you know and who's working in the industry and what do they know how to do so that I can take care of my people and take care of yours.
Well, then maybe give us your little, if you have a bench of if right now I had to put a basketball game on against the aliens, I would choose Michael Jordan, and then I would forget that I don't know a lot of basketball players. But the point is, if you had to pick some technology that marketers are working with or companies that are standing for what you're doing, do you have here's my go-to, or is there a certain company or SaaS product that you like and trust, or give us some of your consumer reviews maybe or
Well, the
suggestions?
biggest companies aren't always the best because the fastest to scale may also be the fastest to cut corners. So if you're, yeah, and I'm not going to give you a list of the ones that I like because that's my secret sauce, but I will tell you that if you're looking to find out who to avoid, check the court docket. If you're thinking about working with a company, check the court docket and find out, yeah, do some research on them and find out what other people are mad at them about. Because that way you'll see, there are some companies that are out there, and I've worked with some privacy tool makers before. They're not lawyers, and so they just needed a little bit of advice in doing the design of what they were doing. They didn't want to enable regulatory arbitrage. They wanted to build their systems in a way that no matter which path you choose, you're still going to end up on the right side of the law. And so you can see those companies because they keep bringing out new products and they get better with each iteration. The other companies have one product and they keep ramming it down everybody's face. Like nobody got fired for hiring Dell back in the day, right?
Right.
And there are some other giant companies in this space, but you also see them all over the docket all the time with people mad at them for all kinds of things. That says to me that they've not invested back into their tools so that they can be trustworthy moving forward. And this is not an industry where you can BS it because we know we're in your data, we're in your stack, we see your flows, we know what BS looks like, and trust is easy to lose. So research them and check the docket first to see if other people are mad at them before you decide to sign up with their service.
That's really
Look for the GPT called Check the Docket. That
Be specific with your prompting, though. For AI prompt engineering, make sure that you have it use, like Court Listener, Pacer, and have these sorts of trusted places where court documents are, so GPT doesn't just lie to you and tell you that they're like, I don't know, 7 R's in strawberry or put glue on your pizza or something stupid.
right. And last week, there was a court case somewhere in the Netherlands where some guy was. ChatGPT hallucinated that he killed his whole family and served like a 20-year sentence.
Yeah.
And he looked up his name in ChatGPT and he's like, well, that didn't happen. So anyway, it isn't just some kind of like crazy idea. That stuff is happening. And the reason why I like Heidi, the reason why I think we should follow some more lawyers is follow them now before you have to. Like pay attention to lawyers before you have to. Because they're very passionate, very giving people. What I've discovered is they're willing to chat. Just make sure. I mean, I haven't paid you, Heidi. Shouldn't you? The billables are way high now. You should send me a bill.
I do a lot of volunteer work, but like I said, I'm crazy. I do it for the public benefit because I think we all do better when we learn from each other. So if I find something good, I want to share it with other people, and I hope that they do the same for me. So, right, I'm going to jump right now because my kids are home from school and I made a chocolate cake, and if I don't cut it for them, they're just going to go at it with forks. It's going to be chaos.
You know what anarchy is.
there we go.
Yeah, right. So I gotta go do that, but I'm leaving for cake, not because I don't love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Heidi.
you.
All right.
That's the best reason to leave.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to. I mean, isn't she just a delight?
yes.
I love
Almost
lawyers.
like it's almost like data is really important.
I know, but she's that scrappy kind of person where I'm just like, and it connects with Kati last week. It connects with Peter. It connects with a lot of things that are happening, a lot of court cases. So, but again, I still am not. I don't know why to give a f about it. Like, honestly, in my heart of hearts, I'm just like, it's really important. I know all the reasons it's important, but I still am just like, why am I not on Proton? Why am I not protecting my data? Why am I not? I could be doing stuff right now, and I'm not.
So Jake, I have a question for you. Or for
Is it
everyone, I
about my
guess.
jacket?
No. It's about something that Heidi said that made me think. It seems like the answer to this is obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If the Marketing Accountability Council wouldn't need to exist if these unsavory practices weren't being practiced. But is it like really the case that we have enough evidence, or there is the ability to show enough evidence that these exotic marketing tactics that everyone's railing about aren't really needed, and they really are not beneficial? Like we already have what we need. Everything else is just superfluous and getting us into trouble. Because I asked the question about when's the last time you you bought something when you were ad tracked, and I can't remember doing that. You had your example,
On a
but for
banner
me,
ad, I mean, there again, I mean, are you talking about a banner ad or something like that?
but for me, I can remember two things. Like I'm like the most anti-consumer person there is. I mean, I've been ever since I was in an advertising agency. It's like I'm like immune to persuasion. But
So you think, I knew you'd say that. Okay, keep going.
but there are two things that I remember actually purchasing as a result of what I would call marketing, messaging, and there were ads on YouTube.
Hmm.
But these weren't brand ads, they were product ads. And there's a difference between branding and like, hey, here's a product
Mhm.
we have. And you
Right.
said jackets, and I think this probably jogged my memory. Bearskin jackets or bearskin hoodies was one thing that I was exposed to on YouTube that I ultimately now have hanging in the room next door. And the other one was Earth Breeze um, uh, washing machine sheets. Instead of like getting detergent in a bottle and having to throw away the bottle, you get these sheets that you just fold up and break up into bits and you put into the same place where you put your laundry detergent.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have found out about these any other way than on YouTube. I don't think I was targeted for
Oh
these
yeah, you
particular
were.
ads. It's hard to believe that I would be. Maybe
Oh
I was,
no. Oh, they knew
but
it.
they were accidental tourists to me,
Hmm.
and they resonated, and I became a customer as a result.
A lifetime customer, it seems.
Well, and that's
Certainly for Earth Breeze.
and
Yeah.
and that is, there you go, proving the point that that was the right message at the right moment to the right person. And did we mathematically arrive at that? Did we statistically arrive at that? Were you marketed? Most people are like, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just like, I'll throw some pennies and anybody plays ads that are like this, that are like that some people like this, and whatever type of way they got it, it worked because you raised your hand saying, I'm a little bit more ecologically aware. I like this idea of fabric.
But
You
I don't
engaged
think
with it.
I don't think Earth Breeze knows that that's why I did it. Like I don't think they can trace back that
Oh,
purchase to
girl,
that.
welcome to marketing. I mean, we've been trying to figure this out for hundreds of years. You know, you're like, was it the ad? Was it not the ad? Did you like it when I did this? You know, and people are like, I don't know why I like you. And they're like, well, what about this? What do you think about this hat? And marketers are just like fucking fools, man. Like, so they bought it because they bought it. Did you do something? Yeah, you put out a YouTube ad. Well, then fuck, it worked. Done. Most people are arriving at this like at the beginning, you're like, marketing doesn't work. Oh my God, it requires trigonometry. And at the end, marketing just works. Like, it's a very simple thing that we have made so complicated.
And at the end of the day, it's based on the quality of, or the perception of the quality of the product.
And the product itself and the audience. And you just proved how old ads used to work, is you would run a whole bunch of ads and some people would be like, oh word, I'm down for Downey or whatever. And
So Michael, sorry to interrupt, but let me ask you a question. Do you think you bought this because it's a novel innovation in the form of a product, or do you think it was based on the messaging or the placement, product, price, place, promotion? Like, this product sounds like something I've never heard before. It might be cheaper than.
He said at the beginning it was a product like ad, so it was a very much product specific ad. It wasn't like that freshness in your face. Do you know what that is? You know,
I mean,
it's like
you saw something different that is better for the environment. I heard that what's in Tide could cause cancer.
For you, not for me.
So I mean, to me, it was like you talk about right place, right time. Like I had been getting tired of throwing away those detergent bottles.
Brother, they knew
Like
it. No,
it,
they didn't.
so it was like there's something I could use that I don't have to throw away. So they come in paper
You
envelope.
didn't look that up or think that near your phone, did you?
No.
Did they
Because
reflect
the
that in the ad? Was that one of the messaging points?
What was that?
Was that in the ad? What was the actual
I
advertisement?
know
What was
now
the
all of a
messaging?
sudden this
Was
Look
there
at
an
it.
example of you? Was there an example that they showed of saving trees or some shit?
No, it was use these instead of get rid of your detergent bottles.
Yeah, so they
And
said
it ends up on a subscription that you could get a subscription. There's just so many options that you can get that I've got so many of them right now that I don't need a subscription. But it
it
was
gave you a real world use case that applied to you, which is
yes,
an underrated
Oh my
marketing
God.
skill.
And now we're doing a little commercial.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here it is. This is the Earth Breeze. Oh, 10% off. Whoa, 10% off.
And my whole thing right now, if I got this and somebody said, pitch it right now, and I'd say from the asshole of Antarctica. And then I would start there and then just start freestyling.
So this went to the product page, but I'm going to take out the everything else and let's see what the homepage says.
And do you think that baby turtle is doing laundry? I don't.
The baby turtle is living though. Clean laundry.
Baby turtle's alive.
Yeah. Clean. Actually, Trump said that the straws, he wants the plastic straws. The other straws aren't
Those
like
paper ones are kind of shady. Let's be honest. Those
I
things suck
agree.
ass.
I agree. So clean laundry, less chemicals. It's a good use of white space. The bottom, like as far as I can see, this is a nice website. The F-shaped reading pattern. Try Earth Breeze today for a powerful clean with less chemical residue. And then you get all the stuff on the bottom.
And there you go, Jay, down there, carcinogen, no carcinogens, no fillers. So they got your eco-friendly person. They got a baby turtle in there if you like Finding Nemo. Green, white, and blue, which we all know are detergent colors. And I discovered that when on the 4th level of Tetris on Nintendo.
So
Every
it's
time I
dissolved.
played the 4th level, I thought I was looking at a Tide ad.
This is innovative. I think it's pretty cool. I think. Why didn't anyone think about this before?
Bro, so this Marketing Accountability Council brought to you by Earth Breeze.
No clean laundry, no plastic jugs. This is
But
effective.
and honestly, Earth Breeze, when you started talking, I was like, is he talking about wind again? And he just relabeled. Quit trying to rebrand weather.
Look at that, and they're even showing the most helpful critical review. That's honest.
Oh,
Needed.
Max score.
dang! Real
Yeah, we should
laundry
rate this.
shots too. That's brave.
No space and no weight. I mean, this is a valuable site.
Dude, so as a wash ambassador, Michael, like you're so fresh that right now I can see your screen, but I'm smelling freshness. None of these other people, I know what they smell like, but I get a read and I get a beat on Michael's smell of his square.
Well, then my mission is accomplished, Jake.
It's super fresh. It's so fresh. it's
So
clean.
fresh.
Just to be 100% honest, they have a unscented and a scented version. I use the scented one, but
Ooh.
I literally can't tell. Like, if I used like a traditional detergent, it would have that smell, that like detergent clean smell. But I've just come to expect or get used to the fact that just having no smell is just good enough.
I think that Michael, I use Earth Breeze as well.
Oh,
They add a little bit
Where'd you learn about it?
my parents,
Okay.
but I use a little bit of this French like linen cleaner stuff that smells good. Just add a little tiny bit. So like one bottle for a very long time, right? one bottle, not multiple bottles. So just think about
Should
that.
we,
And maybe we should.
should we reach out to Earth Breeze and have them on one of our calls?
Later,
Yeah,
Damon.
maybe.
Let's see.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean,
Bye.
now I'm gonna buy Earth Breeze. Well,
Well, we should first get our what our little percentage. Like, how can we?
yes.
Oh, like a true
Let's get
marketer.
our code
No,
first.
but then the authenticity goes away.
No, we're already
No.
using it.
Well,
We're leaving money on the table otherwise.
but you'll
All
know
right.
something's up because next October I'm going to say the McRib is back randomly, and you're going to be like, "What?" And I'm going to be going off about the McRib. So
we
understand
just have to look at their
thing
affiliate program, Michael, and we can split.
Okay.
and get that Earth Breeze cheese.
Ooh.
Oh, Earth cheese. Well, anyway, folks, I'll give you your weekend back. We did great.
What a nice meeting. Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
Later,
weekend.
y'all.
That was fun.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, that was.
We're doing an Earth Breeze ad.